Welcome to the Planet Paintball Podcast, the ultimate podcast for paintball enthusiasts. Each week, we dive into the world of paintball, bringing you stories, insights, and tips from players, coaches, and industry insiders. Sponsored by 1023 Sportswear. Looking for high-quality gear that performs as hard as you do? Check out 1023 Sportswear. And as a listener of the Planet Paintball Podcast, you can get 20% off your order with the code PLANETPaintball. Suit up, save big, and play your best.
Tonight, I have Pate with Avid Factory out of Greensboro, North Carolina with me. How you doing, Pate?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks so much for having me on.
So before we started, you said you kind of came back in. How did you first find paintball though?
Okay, so at the ripe age of 13, so let's say we're talking 96, 97-ish.
Nice.
Soccer team.
Okay.
We go. The middle school soccer team, we go. I got to shoot at teachers and we played capture the flag. We went to this field that was connected to a putt-putt that had the castle, the classic castle that you go in to get your putter and everything. It's called Fantasia. This place was connected next door. And we went with the soccer team, and then we went 3 weekends in a row with our friend group. And from there, it was over. It was in me, right? It was in me. I mean, this field was super cool, right? It had a high side where you could go up and play high and try to go after people that were in different forts. Then it had a low side that had a ravine creek that was about 15 feet wide, 3.5, 4 feet deep. People are spiders with rental masks up to their neck in this freezing cold water. Weekend warriors, right, coming out of the water, CO2 smoke flying out. 13-year-old me, my friend gets bunkered from 5 feet away. He's bleeding, crying. I was hooked. I couldn't. It didn't scare me at all. I loved it. Loved it. It's the thrill.
Nice. Paintball changed a lot since then.
Yeah, the Angels were just coming out at that time. We were using Spider Extras, a vertical compact Spider compact.
Yep.
M68 was a nice gun with the front feed CO2. So we're talking you're holding a CO2 tank facing the butts facing under the barrel. Auto mags are king. Really cool stuff back then. Didn't realize how cool it was, but I just couldn't stop. I loved the equipment even early on. Just seeing all that was just so neat to me, and it's just a whole new world to kind of delve into that I had never. I'm from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Okay, soccer, tennis, golf, right? Lacrosse. We're talking polos and Patagonia shorts. So this was just such a different look and of something to do and something to kind of scratch that competitive itch. And it just got me so quickly, so easily. And even in the time periods where I couldn't play, I just it kept coming back to it, kept coming back to it. It just never, every time it got warm, it just in the back of my mind, I just was even when that putt-putt course closed down and I had to find a new place to go, which Hillsborough, North Carolina, Orange County Predator. That field is now no longer functional. Al Wilkinson, rest in peace. Tony Wilkinson's his stepson, and James Schwenker. Those guys brought me into paintball. Dan Tran. Those guys brought me in. Whether they realize it or not, at the age of 15, I watched them practice when I tried to come out to the field when it was closed for a team practice there. That team was playing a series called ACTS, run by a lady named Bambi.
This was hearing about that.
This is old 5-man. This is 5-man paintball. Home cooking, refs from the local fields that the tournaments were at, cheater boards and everything, man. It was the real deal. It was so much fun.
Yeah, it was the Wild West for a while there, for sure.
15 balls a second, just shredding.
Man, cheater boards takes me back. We had a field down here at New Gen, and they had a guy who could reprogram your board for you. So that was the big thing to get him to do a little extra sauce on you.
So to speak. So at 15, I was introduced to seeing other people play tournaments, but that wasn't my time.
Okay.
At that point, again, it was that's the starting point for me, 13 to 15. Going to Barnes and Noble with my mom. She would be shopping for books, I'm reading Action Pursuit games. And I'm waiting for the new one to come out each month. And she goes, "Oh, I'm going to Barnes and Noble." Yeah, there. You know, oh no, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just depends on if the new issue was out. I'm reading it cover to cover, getting it all
Mhm.
greasy for the next guy who actually might buy it.
I did the same thing. I would,
Yeah.
got some time to kill, drive over to the Barnes and Noble, see what they got, Hopefully they had like a paint or something every now and then. Always the
Yeah,
Action Pursuit, the Paintball
yeah.
Internationals. So
Easy.
still got still have
Loved it.
a stack downstairs somewhere.
You'll never get rid of those. You won't be able to
No,
bring yourself to do it. There's no way.
there's history now, like feel like I gotta cut them up and get them framed or something. So, um,
You might one day.
I've seen a couple sell for, someone wanted it because they got back into the sport and they used to be in the magazine and they're willing to pay $50 for them now. So,
That's too cool.
I don't think I'll ever sell mine. It's too
No
cool
way.
to flip through.
Yeah,
Especially, guns back then were a little bit more hot roddy, right?
definitely. Mhm.
Not that I love my guns now, but just the aftermarket parts and everything was wild with them back then. You could really customize something. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
when did tournaments kind of start for you?
So tournaments for me, then I'd have to take it all the way to like where we're talking like I'm trying to date the first three men. So the first three man I played that was off the books would have been the summer of 2006.
Hmm.
And I am with a guy I played soccer with. His name was Zach. And then just like the guy you meet in the parking lot, we play a three man at
Hmm.
this Orange County Predator I'm talking about, and that was kind of my first dip into playing tournaments. I can remember like we weren't going to win, but I remember the other guys there were trying to help coach us towards the end because if we beat the team that we were coming up against or whatever, and I had no idea about points and bodies and flag pulls and stuff, and they're like, yeah, run up and get the pull, and then that makes sure that we win and all this stuff, and we're like, and I'm just trying to make my to the bunker. Like, at
Hmm.
this point, I don't even really understand like to keep my gun up all the time, right? At this point, they're like, keep your gun up, keep your gun. Like, it's like so funny looking back at it now, right? But from there, names I mentioned before, James Schwenker, a guy named Dan Tran, who I've seen you mention Mantis before. Dan Tran joined Mantis late in
Okay.
that tenure. Tony Wilkinson, whose stepdad Al actually ran the field and he lived in front of the field. Those guys, Tom Allen, these are some of the older guys that were at that field. And they kind of brought me in and said, hey, like, let's ditch this, let's do this. Like, hey, you don't need to drop forward on your gun anymore, right? Like things like that. Just like kind of brought me in and said, hey, we won't make you just watch us practice on Sundays. You can now come into the team practices. And so from there, I had ended up kind of in a similar situation where I always ended up. I wasn't going to be on the Orange County Predator team, and there was just enough guys, the leftovers, right?
Hmm.
So my buddy James, a guy named Patrick Shegog, a guy named Nick Walters, Drew Warish, Alex Zuick, who I'm listing several guys who go on to become a Division I team called the Carolina Bloodhounds, if we want to talk a little paintball history
Yeah.
for North Carolina. So, and a guy, I don't know if I've mentioned his name yet, Alex Kwasnica, okay, who now plays for the Omaha Bulls and Underground, Chaz and Jen
Mhm.
Folks team. So if there was anyone that was like my Mr. Miyagi, it would be Quaz. If there was nobody else at the field, it was just me and him. We were playing one-on-one. We were playing pig. He was teaching me everything. We were doing drills. His dad taught me a lot as well, Big Bob. He's like the cool dad, right? We're in our
Mhm.
early, we're in our 20s and he's in his late 40s, just shredding people and laughing at him. Like love Big Bob, a huge 6'4" guy. Probably like 260, 250, and he'll dive in the snake if you let him. He's crazy. These are the guys that taught me really how to play tournament paintball because we were the leftovers. And I loved playing with that chip on my shoulder. We won a tournament at the local field. We had fun. We even could beat the team that wouldn't let us be on it. When we were at the other field, they were the OCP, we were OCA. We called ourselves Orange County Adrenaline, and we could beat them sometimes. And so that was cool. And that sparked something in me that was like, all right, you can literally level yourself up in this. You can go from being a guy that's reading a magazine in a Barnes and Noble to competing with the best people in your area. And then I used to always love flipping to the back of
Mm-hmm.
those, and they'd have the pictures of the guys that won the CFOA or the regional or the national or whatever. And I said to myself then, I said, I want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want to do. You know, sprinkle in there Baltimore trauma, right?
Mm-hmm.
Around this, I'm
Yep.
learning about Baltimore trauma. I'm becoming a huge fanboy of them and what they had done at that point and how they had won cup and beaten the Russians and all that. And I'm starting to watch all the Dirter videos and I'm starting to learn the history of kind of regional paintball and kind of the attitude and the vibe and again just loving every bit of it, loving the counterculture, loving the fact that only people that cared was the people that did it. Like I don't need other people to care that I do it. I don't need my friends to want to be interested. I don't need it. Like I just and it just didn't matter to me. I was still just as into it, just as like thrilled by it without any sort of reinforcement or any sort of people like giving me some sort of assurance that what I was doing was right or cool or gonna do anything for me positive in my life at all, you know? So, gosh, I mean, I kind of digress with that. It just gets me so excited to start talking about that. It's such an exciting
So
time period for me.
great time period for Carolina paintball. Like
Right.
talk about
So,
being front and
so
center.
that's really how I got into tournament paintball is right there. That's like the spawning point, right? Like there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot more I could talk about because I have a round one history where I played from '06 to 2012, and then I have a round two history which started in 2023, back up again for me.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a great way to end my answer to that question.
Okay. I'm trying to remember when the Bloodhounds came on the scene because they were kind of like this cult team for a while.
Brian Besterman was coaching
Yeah.
those guys.
Yeah.
Great name in North Carolina paintball. Absolute genius when it comes to strategy and mindset.
I really, when I saw those guys, I really thought it was going to be like the second coming of like a trauma-esque thing, you know? Like I had high
Right.
hopes for those. You know, I
We
gotta get
were
rid of
raised
them.
on that. All those guys. Like
Mm-hmm.
I remember Drew and Alex Zuick when they were like middle school kids sitting on the benches, supposed to be ref, and they're calling games from behind the nets on the benches eating Cheetos, right? Not, putting their masks on with dirty Cheetos fingers and stuff. Like so it was really cool to see that those guys made such a deep run with it and everything. Traveled with Nick Walters for years. That was like a brother to me when we traveled together. Great
Wow.
traveling companion, great teammate, great attitude.
So
Um,
you're mentioning traveling. Did you start doing nationals during that first run or?
okay, yes, 100%, 100%. So we started kind of delving into CFOA
Okay.
in 2007. Yeah, so at that time I'm gonna pick up my phone here so I can kind of look at my APPA and be a little more accurate with things because gosh, it's been a long time. Yeah, so we really see it starts to pick up for me in 2007. We start trying to play CFOAs
Okay.
as a team called Underground Heroes. So that team was managed by the people who ran a charity tournament called Lauren's Hope. That Ron and Kat Green. So I was on that team, played in Lauren's Hope. Really cool event. Got to meet Colt Roberts, awesome guy of X Factor now, X
Mm-hmm.
Factor Colt Roberts. Hung out with him again, just more verification that I wanted to be around people who played paintball and that because being around that guy was like, it's like you'd known him your whole life. It was
Nice.
so much fun to be, it's so much fun to be around him. I haven't been around him and I've been over a decade. I have great memories of that guy. So we start out CFOAs then. From the CFOAs, we start playing at Rock Hill, right? So if we want to fast forward a little bit through, my CFOA career was with a five-man team called Fracture. I played the '08 season with them. We actually did really well. So here's where we get it. So mine is when it happened for me, the national stuff. We
Okay.
played a D3 5-man through just being around Rock Hill and Paintball Central Rock Hill. We ended up meeting people that were playing as a team out of the same home field as X Factor called Cerebral Void, aka Baracha Bullfighters. It
Okay.
was run by a guy named Sidney Ing. Okay, and so they were kind of like a divisional team that would practice around the X Factor program and things like that. They were not on X Factor. They were not a part of the X Factor program, but they were I would if I was at a field with the guys like that, I would try to be as close as possible.
Absolutely.
Proximity, friendships, helping them, whatever I could do to get close to them. And these guys were smart enough to do that. And really, I think some of the Colt Roberts being one of them, I think was very helpful for them. We link up. It's my first national. I'm playing at Rock Hill. My friends are there. 6 fields. We take. I want to say we take 4th place. So we podium.
No.
Right. Yeah. So we podium, my first ever national. We get 4th place. We play in finals. It was crazy. I'm shooting a V1 Lux, first edition, 3 weeks old, black on black. So cool. Wearing long sleeve tees as jerseys.
It's a very Carolina thing to do.
Baby. But this was the team from Texas that made those. So that's why it was
Okay.
and we were perfect mesh for these guys. So once I did that, every time that MAO was to be hosted at Rock Hill, I played an event. Right. So I
Okay.
think there's one more that I ended up playing there. It was an X ball event. So there's one more X ball event that I played there in 10, which would be with when we were first taking a team called NC Hammer that we would have created with a group of leftovers at a field we were primarily playing out of the Hillsborough field, and we were playing out of a field in Princeton, North Carolina called Real McCoy's Paintball. Junior
Okay.
McCoy was the guy that was running that field. Big angel guy. Like he had every angel of all time in his little trailer there. It was so cool to see the different guns, but he had price tags on him. No one ever was buying these things because I don't think he'd sell them, right? I think he just had a price tag, so you'd talk to him about it or something.
They're for sale.
Yeah, so, but he's a good old country guy. So North Carolina, there was even like the guy, like this field was, oh man, it was so country that one of the sides bordered barbed wire fence where there were these bulls and cattle. And the big warning there was don't shoot the bulls or the cattle, or the guy that owns the bulls and cattle he's gonna come over here and he's gonna get really mad at us and like shut down the paintball field and stuff.
Awesome.
So we're talking yeah, 70 Highway 70, Princeton, North Carolina. There's not that much going on there. But we were playing paintball out there. We created a team, NC Hammer. We're playing regional. Mayo comes around, right? And we split into 2 teams. So we had too many guys. At that time, I think we had it was paintball was changing at that time. It was going from this like kind of hockey feel where you'd carry so many guys, 12,
Yeah.
13 guys. And it was changing then to where maybe you only really needed like 8 or 9, right? Maybe you
Yeah.
didn't even need that many at that time, but people were carrying that many just to maybe buffer some of the expenses, or some people weren't really in that good a shape. So they needed to play one and rest one, right? They just couldn't do it. We split into 2 teams. We had NC Hammer, we had Platinum Mallet was the other
Okay.
team. So Platinum Mallet is just another version of NC Hammer. It's like the off-brand name we'll use. Like when we came back and did the CFOA Retro 5-man in 2023 with a bunch of the old members, we played as Platinum Mallet.
Okay, nice.
So that's kind of our little fun thing we like to do with that. So from there, we never really finished that well. After that 5-man, I found out that X ball and 5-man are 2 totally different worlds. And the intensity and the preparation and the amount of people it required to win was epically more. The coordination, what I would see teams evolve to that I would play to went from we're filling our own pods in the pits feverishly, not even having enough to really fill our backs in between points, to we have 5 pit crew. We have 15 people on the sidelines, and 2 of them have signs because at the time there's coaching, right? From the pits and everything. We have 15 people coaching from the sidelines, and a person that follows the snake around with an arrow. So you could just shoot at that arrow anywhere you were on the field. If you saw the arrow, you could just shoot at it, and you'd be shooting at the snake. It's wherever he was, anything. You're shaking it if he moves. You're pushing it towards you if the guy's coming tape versus inside. There's all these. I mean, the level of sophistication was just that got me hooked in even more, another level of sophistication. Like, I love that, this thing that you'd think is just dumb and you're just shooting each other with guns, and it's just a whole nother layer of skill and preparation.
That's also the kind of in the middle of like the farm team like era. Like there were a lot of big farm teams going down from, D1 at the time all the way down to, D5, CEP, right?
Played against them.
Yeah.
Wasn't fun. Played against them
No,
when they were just in CFOA.
you talk about the snake.
Brutal.
Like they sit
Brutal.
there with that umbrella thing and they just point
Mm-hmm.
at you.
And they
You're
are.
still around,
Mm.
kind of doing it then. I feel like there were a bunch of other big organizations too. But yeah, so yeah, that is just a wild time. So after 010, is that when your break comes in, or you still going?
Well, not quite yet. So sorry. So we play as Hammer, and we get to the point where we're like comfortable, and we end up feeling like let's play Division 2. So we go
Okay.
to a Galveston Island event. We get middle of the pack. We don't make Sunday.
Mhm.
And like a lot of teams that try to do that, make a bump up when you do okay in Div 3. At the time now, I think it's more like D4 to D3. The gap that people are trying to bridge now is a little more like D3 to D2 back then when it was called PSP and not NXL. So that was the gap where you're trying to bridge to make that move. And we ran out of steam. We had a couple guys get cherry picked to teams that would pay for them to play. We had a couple guys run out of money, and just life changes. Paintball season's long.
Yeah.
It's a long season. Your intentions are super pure January 1 or November or whatever, whenever your season ends, if you don't play Cup. But if you play Cup, normally it's like, end of November, your intentions might be super pure, but by April, your life could be drastically different. And we fell victim to that.
Mm-hmm. A lot
And
of teams
so,
do.
right. And so I watched other teams do it. I watched it happen. That team, NC Hammer, that was like devastating when we broke up. Those were like all my best friends. We did it from nothing. We went national. We started climbing the divisional ranks. It just was heartbreaking. But through playing CFOA, we met the kids who were playing as Atlanta Breakout. They were playing CFOA, they were making the bump to national events, and they wanted to pick up some people that had experience.
Okay.
And somehow we convinced the coach, Bruce Goldinger, to bring us on. So we started traveling to Hot Shots Paintball. And when I say we, I mean Nick Walters and Alex Ryder.
Okay.
We start traveling up to Hot Shots Paintball. That team ends up having an amazing season. We finished third at World Cup. We finished third for D3 X Ball. We play the next season, start as D2, as Carolina Breakout. Moved back down to Division 3 after that. Kind of have a similar thing where D2 is just hectic. We didn't really make it to Sunday. It's a backbreaker when you have such high expectations. You put so much time and effort in, and you spend that whole off season telling yourself you're gonna be something, right, and do something, and then you don't achieve it. I doubled down in life. I can't say everybody does that, right? And so we faltered in that sense, and we kind of had more traction to say, hey, let's go back to D3 and try to see if we can do well at that. And we had a good season. But I think that by the end of that season, I was playing on the D4 team at World Cup. And for a lot of personal reasons, I had to just step away. I didn't have the money, I didn't have the time, I wasn't focused. So I lost it. I lost paintball then. I wouldn't say I gave it up, I lost it. I wanted it and I let it slip through my fingers at that time in my life because I made bad decisions that put me in that place.
Okay.
So that's the end of my like try number one. I'm in
Okay.
my late 20s, right? Or I'm in my mid 20s and I just lose it like sand through the fingers.
Hey, that, hard time for a lot of people. They tell you you're adult at that time and you're like, I'm
Wow.
not quite sure I believe it.
Yeah, I will leave it at that.
So 3 is when you come back?
23. My
What-
wife is
yeah,
in Brazil. She is in Brazil with her niece. They are doing some visiting, some family, and she really inspired me to try to. So I was going to the gym and I was saying to her, well, it's hard to go if I just don't have a reason to go. Like I was not in shape. I was in bad shape. I was getting old. I was like at that point where it's like I'm in my my later, I'm getting towards 40 at that point.
Mm.
A couple years from 40, and I'm watching myself and I'm going, man, I'm about to go one way or the other. I'm either
Yeah.
going to be that athletic version of myself still, or I'm going to kind of slip into this mode where I'm going to make excuses and tell stories of what I used to do. That time we got third at Cup.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm going to have to be satisfied with. And she was a super duper competitive like cheerleader. So we're talking like ESPN,
Okay.
extreme, um, Carolina Extreme, I think was her, bless you, Diana. I hope that I said that right. Was her cheerleading team, and she competed on ESPN, and she knows what it's like to compete on an elite level. And I think she could tell I was missing that in my life. And so she said, just go to the gym. And I said, well, I did it for a while. And I said, I don't know. It's hard to go if I don't have a reason. And she said, didn't you used to play paintball? I was cleaning out and we got rid of some of the old stuff. And maybe you could do that again sometimes on the weekend. And I said, okay. I don't know if there's a dip my toe in version of this. And she
I have
kind
no
of looked
doubt
at
there.
me in this very confused thing because I in our time since I had met her, we had paintball wasn't in my life.
Mhm.
And she said, you need to do it. You need to do it. You really liked it. It was something special for you. Like, just do it for fun. Don't don't do it like you used to do it. Just do it for fun. So my wife's in Brazil and I have free time because she'd been in Brazil for quite a few time. And I'm kind of like, I'm just going to show up to Paintball Central. I'm living in Brown Summit, which is just outside of North Greensboro, right? So Sedalia and Paintball Central are less than 20 minutes from me. I bought a Lux and showed up at the field and it was rainy. It was not nice. It was rainy and there wasn't a lot of people there, but there were a couple guys there that were playing CPXL.
Okay.
They were getting ready for the event the next weekend. The next weekend, a guy named Danny George, Chris Smith, and Andrew Willard are three of the guys that were out there that weekend. Andrew Willard would go on to be my travel buddy, ride or die. Like we're a package deal. I'm not playing for anybody if he's not playing for them, unless he chooses it himself for some reason. But so those guys were out there, and they were kind of like, Danny knows me really well. Chris knows me really well. So we start playing a little bit, and I mean, I'm playing paintball, right? Like I'm shooting, running, gunning off the break to the corners and stuff. I'm doing all the stuff that people used to do back in the day, and people weren't really doing that anymore, and they were kind of like, he's kind of sending it, like, okay, like this guy, wow, he's still like playing, like he cares, I'm not just out there just. Still wasn't in that good a shape, but I have an on switch or an off switch with that. And long story short is I go back out the next day. They asked me to go back, and we play 2 points, and I think it's a point or two. Not a lot of people are there again. It's raining. And we play 2 points, and the second point, I think I ended up like shooting someone off the break and shooting one or two other players, and just I'm walking back to the pit areas there, and they're like, "B Pate, come over here," and I'm like, "Guys, I don't have any hits on me. I'm not cheating." They're like, "No, no, 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 just come over here." I'm like, man, like, did I do something to offend them, or did they think that my gun's hot, or I'm like ramping, like my balls per second's too fast? And they're like, "What are you doing next weekend?"
Nice.
Like, well, my wife's in Brazil next week, and I'm just kind of at the house taking care of stuff. You want to play this tournament next weekend? It's an X-Ball tournament. It's like 7 matches in one day if you go all the way. Really? You want me to do that? And they're like, yeah, dude, I can't go. You can play for free. Say no more.
Yeah. Say
Say
less.
no more. For a guy that's played a lot of paintball in his life and traveled and seen what it costs, say no more. And from that point forth, it's like I play a couple events with those guys and we weren't practicing enough. And then from there, I get introduced. Andrew Willard goes and plays MAO in Philly with
Okay.
a team called NC Explicit, run by a gentleman named Errol Fitzgerald and LB. So Brian Branchcombe, also known as LB. And I try out for that team. I make that team. Eric blows his Achilles. I don't know really the extent of it or anything like that. Brian kind of just pulls everything together, links up with a gentleman named Matt Meads. Matt Meads is a younger brother This guy named Brad Meads, who plays for the Brooklyn Bears now. But at the time, he was playing D1, just to kind of place him. He was playing D1 for the Minnewater Titans at the time, which was coached by Brandon Short. Neat team. So Matt pulls together a couple guys that he knows, because Matt has been around tournament paintball for a long time, and I would kind of call him a talent scout. He's really good at seeing people and being able to look at them and go, this guy's smoking mirrors, or this guy can play and I can work with him, right, on a team I'm on. And so through that, the wagons assemble, and we kind of have this hybrid. Me and a couple of guys who were going to play for NC Explicit, and Matt Means and some of his friends, a gentleman named Alex, who was introduced to me as Ronnie Dizon's cousin. And I'm like, okay, so we're good. He's Ronnie Dizon's cousin, so we're good, right? I'm like, guys, I'm not that easy to fool. He ends up being a great player, but anyways, we bring together this squad in Chicago. I don't think we practice together. We're playing D4. The team becomes Avid Factory at that point because Matt Means' property management company is called Avid Property Management. And since Matt paid for the jerseys and was able to get them rushed through Todd Martinez in weapons, we become Avid Factory. We not to be confused with the Avid Factory that has existed for quite some time. That is Greg Pauly's team out of Texas, and they've made egos and been a well-established program. This is not the same thing. This is not a knockoff of it. It's just by chance this happened because that's how our Matt is closer to my age. He's closer to 40. I won't date him, but I'll say that he's a little older, and that's how factory teams are made, is who pays for your stuff.
Yep.
And so that's how this team is formed. Through Paintball Central guys, through guys who are playing out of Black Ops in Fayetteville, Black Ops in South Carolina, and other parts of the country that are kind of just brought together by Matt.
Okay.
And so Avid's born, and all of a sudden I've gone from, February, just dip your toe back in, to Chicago. I'm playing national events again. I'm in it. I'm in the gym 4 days a week. I'm playing paintball 3 days a week. I'm fully in it. Can't stop.
Pedal down, huh?
Yeah. So since then, so that's how that team started. That's how I'm back in paintball. Chicago, we did not make Sunday. We got knocked out by one place by a team called Carolina Clutch, coached by Austin Castor. We played
Local
for Greenville
guys.
Growl last year. If we're doing a little more paintball history, awesome guy. Very high paintball IQ. And the Greenville Growl shirt, of course. Super high paintball IQ. Really friendly guy. Plays paintball real mean. I like people that are real friendly on the sidelines. I think I'm like that. Yeah, I'm real friendly on the sidelines, but I won't stop shooting until until you give me that signal. And if it takes you a second to put your hand up, that's a while for me to squeeze the triggers.
Yeah. How it's gotta be. That's how it's gotta be, right? Like mean inside, nice outside.
Just let me know you're out, so you're not gonna influence the game anymore, and I'll stop shooting you. Until then, I'm just gonna keep doing it. So Carolina Clutch knocks us out by one place. That to kind of is the first time we see a player who we end up picking up, which I think was a really integral piece of the MAO win for us, and that was Owen Pinch. We saw Owen Pinch for the first time playing for Carolina Clutch D4, and a couple of us noticed him, and we were like, we tell he's really young, we could tell, but we could tell, man, that he was different. And I'm a huge believer in, if you have a killer snake, that it changes everything about how your team can play paintball. Because if the other team has to not just respect the snake, but fear the snake, it changes the way they break out. And I learned from Rob Staudinger and Tyler Humphreys at Paintball Central in the off-season, from off-season training. When those guys were doing teams called Lost Boy and Mayhem, I was tagging along and training on their coattails because they needed winter bodies to shoot at. So I took that opportunity, and those guys really taught me. This is after trauma. This is after gridlock, right? This is kind of Rob's last run at playing paintball. And I'm so blessed to have gotten to be around him and do that, because they taught me, if you win the breakout and you know what you're doing and you have a game plan, you understand the field, you're gonna win the game. If you win the breakout and you don't win the game, it's because you made mistakes. or somebody made an absolutely stellar play against you, right? Which is few and far between. It's going to be hard, when you really have a good game plan for somebody to do that. So those guys, taught me that. So, going back to my point, Andrew Willard and myself, we see Owen at that tournament and we go, we got to get this kid at some. Now, down the road, he'll claim that he's the one that picked him up and all these things. I'm under the impression that this was the thing that kind of both of us came to watching this kid play, seeing that he was coachable, seeing that he would take the information and the next point be able to do everything. So we play World Cup after the Chicago event. We bounced back from not making Sunday. This is tough. First tournament, team's not really solidified. We end up playing World Cup. We pick up Carson Preston.
Okay.
That event. Huge pickup for us. Carson, the most overlooked younger talent at the time at Paintball Central. There were other guys that were getting the looks that were his age, playing Division One, playing Division Two. He wasn't getting that look. Brian and Andrew knew he was gonna fit for us. So we pick him up and we go all the way to the Ochos at Cup as our second tournament. And like not the bye or nothing. Like we're playing every single one.
Go through all.
God, we get to the second to last one, that we really want to get into that top four, and we run into a team called SBS. They're pretty nice little program. I don't know where they're out of, but they wear like a Sandana jersey that's like got purple and gray tones in it and black. I'll always remember them, and I always see them around the event still. They beat us. We were up 3-1, and they came back in under 3 minutes, tied it, and then beat us in overtime. And we were up we were up on bodies in the overtime point and kind of just blew it because we just weren't gelled yet to that point. And their player just played great in the chaos and pulled off a 2-on-1 and just ran down. And I told him after he hung the buzzer, it shocked him. I said, "Man, that was sick, dude." And he looked at me and he was like, no, he wasn't used to people complimenting him. On the box at World Cup, he's open. I'm expecting me to give him just something foul, and I'm like, "Bro, that was so sick. Congrats." And he's like, "Huh?" But that's just kind of who I am as a person in terms of that. I'm okay with telling somebody else when they do a good job, even if they're not on my team, even if I don't want to tell them, or if I'm okay with acknowledging that. So that was a heartbreaker for us, but that World Cup told us that we were there. We were going to stay together as a team. We stayed together the whole offseason after that, and we took a fantastic team to Las Vegas. We did not, we had our same roster from World Cup minus Matt Gibson, younger brother to Andrew Gibson, who is the best paintball field manager on the planet, if I don't say so myself. Really have a lot of respect for that guy, the way he does things over there at Paintball Central and the kind of platform he sets up to allow us to be successful. I love that place. I can't say enough about Paintball Central Greensboro. So minus Matt, we're carrying, I want to say we're carrying 8 guys in Vegas. We make it to Sunday. We convince through long-term friendships. I convince a gentleman named Chaz Folk, who might be known as the guy who's connected to Underground, a team called Underground that's playing Division Two again this year. He may also be known for being linked to a lady named Jen Folk.
Allegedly.
No, or married. To her. So Chaz, old friend of mine from my first run at paintball, kind of was going to be there to watch Jen and the Heroines play. And I'm like, dude, look, we need some direction. We need somebody that can say, "You 5, this is the play. Don't do this, do this. They're killing you this way." Playing and coaching at the same time is nearly impossible. I watched Chaz do it in 2023 artfully in Division 3. And so I said, like, kind of eventually, so here's Chaz. He's wandering over. He's helping coach us. We make it to the Ochos again. We make it to Sunday. We come up against a team called Pag Factory that's from Canada and a very, very good break shooting team. And they were smart because the Sunday at Vegas, HK had sold quite a bit of paint. And it seemed like the paint that they had to sell that morning was a bit brittle. And I think I'm saying that as an understatement because I thought HK Paint was phenomenal the entire season, but in this one instance, it did not match the weather. It was cold, it's dry in Vegas. It became to the point where you could take 20 balls and just turn them over from 2 feet and they're all going to shatter. So Pag Factory was smart and saw that and was shooting HK the whole event. They switched to GI paint. And with that GI paint, they absolutely slaughtered us in the OCHAs. We were getting penalties. We're shooting pink potato salad and pink and yellow potato salad out the ends of our guns. Whereas the whole tournament, the paint we were shooting was absolutely phenomenal. It was mind-boggling. It was one of those things where it's like, what? Like it all looks and feels the same, but the performance, what it's doing is just not the same at all. You're diving and every pod's exploding in your back and like inside just soup. And so that one hurt. That one hurt. We got knocked out in Vegas. But again, we knew we had something going on.
Yeah.
We really knew we had something going on. We were having fun at the houses. We were having fun at the practices. Let's see. So at this point, last season, I managed to the first practice of the season, 2024, Brian LB after a point we were playing from point blank twice in a second, once in the stomach and once directly in his nuts, like from point blank, because I'm holding too many pods and I drop a pod, it hits a trigger and I shoot him in the stomach. So my response is to jerk downwards, which the pod hits the trigger again and shoots him directly. So all last season, Brian owed me a nut shot, okay, that he was supposed to take. The worst part was he never did it, and the terror of every time being around him was worse than actually. Well, I don't think it was worse than being shot. Let's be honest. But there was terror all season.
Kept the terror going on. Like maybe not today, but maybe.
We're having fun, right? We're just, it's nuts, right? We're like, guys, it's just one of those things where I felt it, right? You could feel it's like I felt it with the breakout guys, where we could just be hanging out in the parking lot of a Best Western in Chicago, and we're just hanging out with a cooler with some Gatorades on ice, and there's a bunch of guys skateboarding barefoot in the parking lot, and we're just hanging out, just chilling. We'd do that for 6 hours. And it was fun, right? So Vegas happens, right? We're disappointed. Like we really thought we were gonna play for the top four in that tournament. But we kept grinding at it, right? Like we scheduled more practices. We started getting more paint to shoot at practices. We started to lean on so our sponsorship in 2024 was HK.
Yeah.
Everything HK. Full kit, the mask, the pack. We made HK jerseys every event, HK pants every event. Chad Boucher was our team coordinator. It was absolutely the best experience I've ever had with doing anything like that. I don't know if I'd ever been this directly involved with a company that large that was doing so well to have somebody with the resources to really do that before, that wanted to really buy in and said, I think you guys are worth, even if you guys don't do well, I think you guys are worth my time and my energy, and I'm going to try to make you do as well as possible. 'Cause you're going to spend your time and money and go out there and like, I'm going to do what I can on my side. So through kind of proximity to Chad and HK, kind of letting us start pulling off of seeing us do better, and they're saying, well, this is the skid you need. We're getting it. We're getting a better relationship with the paint truck guys. We're getting a better relationship with the guys at the booth if we're needing anything at the events. One time they gave us a case of water. Like we need to have water. We're like, go to the HK booth. We're like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, they're like looking around like, dude, we're thirsty too. But then they're realizing like, well, you guys are trapped in the middle of a match, and like, okay, like it was like an easy decision for them, right? They just like think about it for half a second. They're like, cool. Oh, you need to store your stuff in AC in between matches? Here, put it in this area, right? It's like, so that relationship really started to give us confidence, right? And like started to say, like, show us like, wow, like the real companies in paintball are willing to do something, just to, even a little extra, even to say, hey, we're gonna give you better paint, like we're gonna pull from the same skid as Russian Legion for you, or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Or we're gonna pull from the same skid as this pro team, as Heat or whatever, right? That changes it in your mind. So we go to Dallas. We train hard. We have a good practice. We go to Dallas. Dallas was not fun. I remember sitting in rental cars for probably 10 hours of it, and the radio's going off every 10 minutes telling me that if I go outside, I'll die because the lightning storms. And we're watching the people who run the Parks and Rec department for whatever that community was there, just outside of Dallas or whatever, and they're screaming at the NXL officials to get everyone out. We're wondering why traffic is so light on Saturday and Sunday getting to the event, and it's because all the locals have heeded the warnings on the radios that say stay in your house until noon because there's such bad storms. We made it to Sunday. We got knocked out the first round. Our field was 10 and 12 inches of water, and to get to the field, I mean, it was the same experience a lot of people had, right? First time though that and I played the event in Galveston Island where they canceled it before it was over, 2011, 2012, still called PSP. I could see the current at Dallas of the water draining through our field. Our field was part of the drainage.
Wow.
You could see the water moving. So we had a disappointing showing in Dallas. That was the one where I was like, "Oh my gosh, is this the NC Hammer moment? Is this the right? Like, is this the moment where the expectation and the experience don't match, and people don't choose to double down, they choose to try something else?" And truthfully, there were several of us on the team at the time that because the other guys were playing so well, we're not getting a lot of spins. And maybe we weren't. Maybe we were, maybe just the way it was all working out, whatever. The second event, Dallas, we didn't have Chaz Folk. He was coaching and playing with Underground. So that lack of involvement kind of threw us off. We saw where we really needed that guy steering the rudder of the ship, so to speak. After Dallas, another team was spun off. It was called OG Avid. Matt, a guy named O'Shea, and myself rostered on that team with a bunch of guys who were playing for a CPXL team that they left called the Myrtle Beach Beach Bandits.
Okay, you know the name.
Playing CPXL at the time was coached by Chad Boucher. So after the dust settles for a couple weeks and we're back home, the guys that are still playing for Avid Factory that I hadn't talked to call me and they're like, "Wait, you joined Matt's team?" And I'm like, "Well, I think I read. This is how I'm reading the room, guys. Maybe I'm really good for filling the pods and helping out and stuff, but it doesn't look like you need me to play. I'm getting older and I want to play." I think that with these guys, they said, "Hey, we'll let you play a lot. We'll put you in a key position and let you work." That's where I'm at the point in my life where I thought maybe if we're not in a win, I at least want to play. I'm used to going deep. I'm used to all these things. The expectation is super high. So it's like I can be okay with it not being winning, but I can't be okay with going to Texas, driving 400 miles in a weekend around all over Texas to do the event, and then playing paintball for 10 minutes. And if that, like not even playing 10 minutes of paintball, maybe playing 2, 3 or 4 points. So me, Brian, and Andrew Willard talked to me and let me know that I was reading the room wrong and that Dallas was a disorganized mess and that it just didn't work out, right? It was a bad event. I had a terrible taste in my mouth at that one personally, but being one of the older guys on the team, I realized I needed to just grow up on it. Moved back over to the roster. At that point, we pick up Owen Pinch. So at this time, the roster is Kun Tran, Danny Segura, Brian Branchcombe, Carson Preston, Andrew Willard, Owen Pinch. Who am I leaving out? We had 7.
Okay.
I think I listed everybody off, but let me make sure I'm not being stupid and leaving anybody out of here. That's crazy. That's crazy. I'm sorry, guys. We got that roster together. We got that roster together for MAO. Chaz was our full-time coach. Rockin' was 7. We lost 2. We pick up 1, right? And we have the best prep weekend I've ever had in my life. We played the layout weekend at Paintball Central with the Heroines, and we played with Underground, and we played with the Raleigh Razorbacks, who you have now become familiar with.
Yes.
Andy and those guys, Jacob Butts, old friend of mine, Jacob Butts. Love those guys. Have to play them every week, and we played a match on Sunday. Just to get ready for this season. We play matches already. So that practice, we felt really good. We go to MAO, and there's saying that you're gonna win, and like in your mind thinking you're gonna win, and then there's knowing you're gonna win. It takes a lot to go from thinking you're gonna win to knowing you're gonna win. There's a lot of work in between those two things.
Yeah.
And through the friendships that we made and that pickup in Snake, it's not that our other Snake wasn't good before, but Owen is a dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
You will hear this kid's name for a long time. All of you will. If you're going to watch National Paintball, you're going to have to hear his name. We found him after he came from Clutch. So I will say, Austin Castor, you're the man. I think we might have to give you credit for getting him rolling now. Owen's had to do all the work himself, but credits to Austin. Did a great job getting him started. So we were just cooking that event. Carson is shooting people off the break, flow of the communication, understanding of what everybody's roles were and what everybody needed to do, win that layout, each point at a time, to make the alterations based on what we saw in the scouting and what we saw in the other players to exploit weaknesses in them. Chaz was a conductor. He was swapping people in and out every point. It wasn't like, oh, we played the same five guys the whole time. We gave people a different look every point. When you don't go behind, when you never are behind, it gives you the ability to do things differently. I never understood that in paintball until that tournament. Chaz has said it at the tournament. I've heard it from many people before. But when you're ahead the whole time, it's like the mindset can be totally different.
Yeah.
Because you're in the driver's seat at a certain point, then the clock makes them do certain things. And then if you understand the game and the layout, the difference between thinking and knowing, right? So prelims we were cooking, Sunday, I think we got the bye. Yeah, we got the bye on Sunday. And we played our first match, and we were just flowing. Like, it just felt so good. And it's just like a different feeling than I've played so many national tournaments. I've played and played and played and played and played and played them and played so many points at so many fields all over the world. Yeah. That when you're in that real state where you and the guys are linking up and it's really just that one point at a time, um, there's nothing else. There's nothing else but you and them and what your job is and fulfilling the role. And you're just you're hitting all your shots, and the team huddles in between, you're visualizing and you're syncing yourselves together. And, all along the way, there were tears in team huddles on the way to not even being in finals, but like finishing prelims, right? Like playing that first match, like it was hair standing up every huddle on everybody's body. You could visually see it. So, and it was just clicking and flowing. And Carson Preston won MVP for us that event, and he was the MVP. He was the best player for any team in that tournament, hands down. He was shooting people. He was hip shooting people off the break. He's looking out the right side of the bunker with his head and hip shooting out the left side and shooting people and calling him on it before the refs can even see it. There's videos where he's freaking out. I think 40 Media posted one. Shout out to 40 Media. Love that guy, dude. Super cool. I am a member of the Gross Major Club. Deservedly.
Guy.
So, yeah, so that tournament was so sick, dude. You come back home and everybody plays you like it's the game of their life. Like, you can't show up at the field anymore and just play. You've got to have your strategy down. You better have five guys that know what they're doing, and because people are measuring their entire paintball lives off of a Saturday practice with you. And we were there for it, wanted it. We were like, okay, you guys think that? Okay. So we were there for it. We had an insanely good practice for Chicago as well. I mean, like that's one that was minus heroines. Let's see who all came out for that one. I mean, You got Razorbacks again. It's like
Mhm.
the same theme is there. Razorbacks are going to be there. Underground was there. And then what was the fourth team we pulled for Chicago? Was it Carolina Crisis, maybe? Man, it's just so much going on. I can't remember
Yeah.
that one either. That's terrible. We had another great practice, that one for Chicago. There was that's the gap in the season between those two. MAO to Chicago was a big gap.
Yeah.
So we got to be the champs.
Hang out with it for a little bit, get to know it.
You savor every last drop of
Mhm.
it. You better, or you just don't understand how special that really is. So we had a great Chicago prep. Again, I think it was OG Avid. So I think it was the other Avid team that came and played us. No, 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 no. They were playing with the Bears, but we were practicing with them in between the events. So we've maintained friendships with the other Avid team as well. We help them, we'll scrimmage them, we'll practice them as well. So that's been a cool thing to maintain those friendships. I really like
Yeah,
those
that's
guys.
nice.
Yeah, and I almost played with them. That's how much I like them. We were almost teammates. So we went to Chicago, and it felt a lot like MAO. We were cooking. Az was making all the right calls. There was some little things here and there where it's like one weird thing would happen, we'd still win the match. Like that one was the one with the outer snake, right?
Yeah,
Wasn't it when it was on the outer snake?
that was no man's land.
Right. And so we had a point in that one where I think where was that MAO that had the outer
Now I'm
the
thinking
double.
about it. It's the MA.
So that was MAO.
Yeah.
So that was so I'm thinking about that one. But that was only one point at MAO. We had two bodies alive and our guys are checking each other. And they have a guy crawling down the outer snake still alive. We actually had three guys alive. And the guy ends up shooting someone at the 50. And then our guys that are checking each other at the box kind of look up. I'm not going to name their names, guys. You're lucky. I'm not calling your names out. But there's two guys on our team. They're like checking each other, like, man, let me look at you. Let me look at you. Our teammate gets shot at the 50. And they kind of look like, huh. Now they like no recognition. The guy pops down, kind of down, and the snake crawls like 5 more feet, pops up, just mows both of them, right? So, anyways, but in Chicago, there was a couple holes going through, but through being teammates and like understanding how to persevere and win against all odds, and having fantastic coaching from Chaz, great pit crew, all the right things. We're doing well, we're cooking, and then we come up against in the Ochos, or no, in the semis, so in the top four, we come up against a Salt Lake Tension team that is dialed like we were at MAO. Like if they don't shoot you off the break, and they find you and they know where you are. They know exactly what to do, how to execute it, and they're gonna eat you alive. And those guys ate us alive in Chicago. Shout out to the tension guys. But they made one mistake. The third point, they had player, they were on our side when they were finishing the point. They started on our side. Third or second, third, I don't know. And the point was finishing, and they smoked us that point. And that guy looked at the pits, and he looked at me and the guys in the pits from in the field, and he said, "That's what I'm talking about, boys. They don't want it. They don't got nothing for us. They don't want none of this." And I said, "Thank you." Because this season is not over, buddy. This match, I knew was over. At that point, there were still points to play. I knew it was over. But right there, he gave me the proverbial chip. And he gave other guys on that team that proverbial chip. I don't know who you are, Guy and thank you for saying that. Thank you. Appreciate it, dog. It was every bit of fire that we needed. So then we play for third and fourth, and we take third place, and that was super dope. But it's like hard. Going out on a win is nice, right?
Yeah.
Losing the last two matches is brutal. Going out on a win is nice, but we thought we could win two in a row. That tension team they were ready for it. So then at that point we make the champions bracket. So we're going into World Cup.
Big buy.
I didn't realize how big it was until you kind of go there and you realize like it doesn't matter what happens Thursday, Friday, even Saturday.
Yeah.
You're just in Sunday. That's weird. Okay, because there's this whole ramp up that you normally have to do in your mind and get yourself ready to go and play prelims and do the scrimmage and try to play well enough in the practices, then play well enough in the layout so that you don't hurt yourself, but you play good enough that you're actually going to get the spins, right, in the tournament. And then you got to go there and, it's like then you have to get yourself up, right, for the next round, and then you get to Sunday. So there's like all these humps and this kind of this like slow wind build up to if you make Sunday, you've got all this momentum. Champions bracket is you play the top three teams and then you just are right in it. And if you lose that next match, you're out. It's like you're just in the ochos at that point, right? You're in the ochos, so you're either top four or you're out. The practices and the whole preparation from World Cup was strange because of the champions bracket.
Yeah.
I normally like all this pressure is off of you, right? That you normally have because you're going to Sunday at World Cup. That's a different feeling than we got to play prelims and do well enough to try to then fight our way through 3 matches of teams that are absolute dogs that have fought their way tooth and nail to get to this next level to then play on Sunday and fight people that are absolute dogs again, right? So that's kind of that's kind of like why it was weird. Now it worked out well for us because we played tournament paintball from the beginning. Once we got that, we got to play the Salt Lake Tension again the last match. That was clutch for us. We beat them. That was a big momentum thing for us. That gave us better seeding going into Sunday. We ended up facing an Evil Audio team that was fantastic. The Evil Audio guys, some of those guys play for AC Dallas and some other Vicious and other programs like that. So they definitely they know what they're doing. They won Dallas in the rain. I wanted to play them. I saw them before the match and I said, I've watched you play Dallas and I want to play you guys. I've wanted to play you since then. I've been waiting for this. They beat us. They beat us. I will say that with better refs on the field where they played the next match, they got penalties every single point. Better refs that were able to see things a little more clearly. I think I didn't see that match with Evil Audio that way, but some of my guys felt like that. There was actually some there was some screaming and yelling back and forth between them. And we had to diffuse it. It's like over some of these things. So that was a contested match. That one hurt. Then it also, we went out, we ended up losing our next match as well at World Cup, the third and fourth match. Once we came out of the Ochos into the top four, we knew we would lock the series if we took third and Evil took anything. If Evil took first and we took fourth, there was a chance we could not win the series, even though they only played 2 tournaments. As World Cup was worth 2 double points, and they won Dallas. We had a first, a third, right? So mathematically, it was stressful at the end, for the whole series thing. Not getting that fourth place, that hurt really bad. We played a team, Ohio Grim, I think that Ohio Grim was who we played. It's a good team. It's a good match. Went to overtime. It's a good match. Or no, didn't go to overtime. That one we had. I was the last guy alive. I was about 20, 30 feet from the box to buzzer it, but they held us off in that match. Then we had to go watch Evil Audio play for first and second to see what was going to happen. But like I said, in that match, they were heavily penalized. So it was kind of like after the first 2 or 3 points, it was kind of like we were all just kind of like, okay, we're going to get it. And then once it was all posted up and everything, we realized we were going to take the series.
Nice.
And that was a really cool moment for a lot of us. We'd won a tournament that year. We took a third place and we finished top 4 for the last months of the year. And I think a lot of us have been waiting a long time to say that to that kid that was sitting in Barnes and Noble, that younger version of themselves, right? Like you're in the back of one of those magazines now, right? Like your little paintball dreams and your little paintball fantasies can become a reality a lot quicker than you realize if you put in the time, effort, work, make the connections, the friendships, put yourself in the right places at the right time. So that was, the Avid factory run last year. It was too sick. It was so much fun. Those guys, I'll never forget them. Those are some of the best times of my life. You just never know it until it's over. Some of them. This year we came back together. We did lose Owen Pinch
Okay.
to Underground. He is rostering
Mm.
with Underground this year to play Division Two. I am proud of Owen. We are proud of Owen. Of course, we want Owen to play with us. We meshed with him. He was a great component for us. You guys will hear this kid's name. You'll hear him playing for Team USA. You'll understand when you start to see some of the highlight reel stuff that he does down the line here, why we're talking about him.
Here-
Yeah. The kid's only like 17 years old, man.
Keeping an eye on since he started playing though. Like he's he's doing the right things.
He is coming into himself. It is really starting to click for him. I love watching it. And Owen doesn't have a nickname, but I have a nickname for Owen. And it's because, let's see, he won an NXL all in like 3 weekends in a row or something, like in a month. He won an NXL with us. He won a CPXL with his buddies on FTK. And then he won a one-on-one tournament where he won a Twister DSR Plus. So to me, that's a triple crown. If we're talking about triple crown winners, that's Seabiscuit. So Owen is Seabiscuit to me. So if you ever hear somebody screaming, "Let's go Seabiscuit," it's me, and I'm talking about him.
I love it.
But nobody else gets it. Maybe our teammates might go, "Oh, you're still trying that thing."
That's gonna stick.
It's gonna stick.
Oh.
So this year we're gonna play as NC Hammer. Come back to the original vibe, come back to the original concept, which is leftover guys that have come together and we're actually not that bad. Through permission of Alex Kwasnica and Steve Holden, who was our coach for NC Hammer at the time, they've let us pick the name back up.
Nice.
And we're having a blast. I hearing Hammer echo through the hills, through the forest of Paintball Central, man. It gets me going.
Awesome.
Gets me.
So you're gonna do nationals again?
Yeah, we're gonna come back. We're gonna have to go up and play Division 3.
Okay.
So we're gonna step into Division 3. We've had a couple good practices now. Last weekend we were scrimmaging Raleigh Razorbacks, who has been on the show with Andy, World Cup Division 3 World Cup champs. We also the day before had some scrimmages with Underground as well. So we're having an opportunity to play up. We're having an opportunity to play at our level as well. So we're preparing for D3.
Sounds like North Carolina's coming for D3, man, one way or the other.
There's a lot
Watch
of
out.
teams. You got the War guys. I've gotten to know them a little bit as well, which they've been on the show as well. Carolina Paintball, we like to think it's huge, but it's only as big as, we make it and how hard the guys that are here try to keep these teams going and these relationships with the companies and things in the fields to make them want to keep tournament paintball and people playing X-ball and not just doing rec play.
So have you guys sorted sponsors for this year yet?
So last year we were heavily involved with HK Army and Chad Boucher. It was an amazing experience. I would not deter anybody from doing that. This season we'll be working with Chad Boucher again and the Defy folks over there. There's still some things being sorted out with those guys in terms of with the soft goods and things like that. We're 100% doing that with them. This is a great year to play an XL and not have a paint sponsor. You can shoot paint between $25 and $28 from everybody there and not have their name on your jersey. Well, my guess is that you'll see us shooting maybe HK paint, maybe Vulcan paint, maybe we'll shoot a little GI. I'm a big fan of Matt Sauceman. He's coached me for some of my career, and I think he's a great guy. I like JT, and I like GI paint as well. So, but in terms of direct sponsor, I think Chad's our guy. Took such good care of us, gave us so much confidence last year. To not place our confidence with him again this year, it would be a mistake.
Nice. I mean, those relationships matter, right?
Especially when you're looking for a place to put a whole cart full of paint and when you probably don't have room in your hotel or a rental car that can hold it or whatever. Like I said, we had HK give us a case of water in the middle of a tournament. They took it out of their own cooler. So to have these companies being willing to work with us like that, it's sort of surreal though, right? Because you just don't imagine, like, as a divisional player that you're going to get that. You can.
Yeah, but it's a lot about relationships and treating those sponsors right, and you get what you put in, get what you put in. So that's awesome.
Right.
Well, man, we're right at hour 30. We got the whole story in.
I did.
Did it? You're right on the money. Hammered it. Hammered
It works for a lot of things for me.
So
thanks for tuning in to the Planet Paintball podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Whether you're out there grinding in the divisional pits or chasing dreams on the pro stage, remember, it's all about the passion, the hustle, and the love for the sport. Shout out to 1023 Sportswear for sponsoring the show. Don't forget to use code PlanetPaintball at checkout for 20% off your order. Gear up, save big. Until next time, keep grinding, keep growing, and we'll see you back here on the Planet Paintball podcast